Hello, friend. Today we are going to take a look at Gate 22. What I greatly appreciate is, as I'm doing these videos, as someone who has a right brain body and right mind, and that you would find in the arrows or in the variables in your chart, is that it's really pulling information out of me. And I'm feeling this information at a whole new level. So something just to keep in mind if you are a right-brained body and a right-minded person, know that it is important for you to teach, learn, and then teach. That's a way to solidify the information in your cellular structure. So Gate 22 is actually called the Gate of Openness and the Gate of Grace. So if you see here, it's in the mandala. We are still in the quarter of initiation, which may or may not mean anything to you. That's, information that's going to come down the pike. It sits actually in the solar plex, if you see here in the body graph. So of course, that solar plex energy is one that ebbs and flows because it is part of the emotional wave. But this emotional wave, so it's cruising along because it's in the individual circuitry. It's cruising along. You look really emotionally stable. And then all of a sudden, it just peaks right up. There's this exhilaration that happens. And then you're cruising right along, and then poof, down in the dumps. So because the individual circuitry holds melancholy, and again, I've touched on it a little bit, melancholy is important for us. Melancholy is in that individual circuitry for a reason. And it really is to help the individuals on this planet assimilate the new evolutionary steps. And that melancholy slows down the body, I guess, or the mind is what I want to say, and allows for that next evolutionary, energetic or frequency that needs to drop into our cells to do that. And it happens in that melancholic period. And melancholy isn't something that we need to medicate away. Melancholy is something that is so important to the empowerment of each one of us and to the self-empowerment of those that are going through that melancholic process. So Gate 22, so there's an emotional openness to it, or an emotional closedness. I don't think closedness is a word. Because there's always a dualistic spectrum in human design, right? Well, in our world. So it's about, it's about listening. That brings a social grace and a charm that is highly attractive to other people. And of course, it all depends on what mood you're in. Within this gate, there's actually a line that is, about being that, charmer. Let me just grab it. It's actually called Charm School, is the second gate, and the third, or the second line, and the third line is actually called the Enchanter. So this energy flows throughout this, right? It's very attractive to other people because they feel like somebody's listening to them. And Gate 22s, if you have that gate and it's in a defined center, you're listening. And if it's in an undefined center, listening comes and goes depending on who you're with. So your openness and your attentiveness to what is essential and new for others. This is your gift of grace. And with that gift, you're actually making an impact because you are being attentive and open to those that need you. And again, only when you're in the mood. Please don't force yourself to be in the mood. If you're not in the mood, you're not in the mood. If you're not in the mood, it's probably not going to feel very charming or attentive. It's going to feel very, the impact may not be what you want it to be. So individual circuitry, of course, brings that empowerment to yourself and others. So in all of the awareness centers, because this sits in the solar plexus is an awareness center in the making, and it's also a motor. So the nervousness in this gate is the nervousness of silence. You want to hear things. You want to listen to things. It's actually the left ear that you're hearing things through, because it's the left ear hears things in a wave. So there's nervousness there that, like, I might not have anything to listen to. But don't let that nervousness cloud your decision making when this is your strategy and authority. The nervousness is there so that you can move through the nervousness, that you know that there's going to be clarity on the other side of the nervousness. Because there's always going to be something worthwhile listening to. So that left ear actually hears things in that wave pattern, as I was saying. And the wave pattern, you're not hearing it right now. What you're actually doing is there's going to be this process over time that you actually ebb and flow that information. So you're hearing it, but it's not in the moment, if that makes sense. You're hearing it in the moment, in that realistic, time-space reality. But it's going to take time for you to actually hear it and listen to it. I hope that makes sense. So the not self piece of this, of course, if this gate is open and the center is open and the 12th gate is pointing towards it, you're going to notice that you have the ability to articulate the emotions of others. And it really is a gift that you hold. What can also happen here is that the not self mind can amplify this nervousness. So, having a nervousness to silence. So all of a sudden there's this motor running in your body and you're like, oh, I got to talk, I got to create noise so that there's something worthwhile listening to, because you're nervous about the silence. And of course, defined or undefined or completely open, as this solar plex is, there's always a not self, a healthy state and an unhealthy state. So the other thing here is that you can learn copious amounts of wisdom about social grace. I don't have the 22nd gate and I don't have the 12th gate, but what I love is that when I am interacting with people in groups, I've learned a great deal of information and wisdom from those people that are just socially graceful. It's in their DNA, and they are socially graceful. And I love to watch them because it's almost like they're dancing through a room. They can't wait to just soak in and take in and listen to the interactions with other people, and it's like they're floating in the room. That's how I see it. So I'm learning great amounts of wisdom from that. So if anything here in human design strikes your fancy, you feel invited to connect, let me know. I would love to create a coaching package for you, or just have a conversation and see if you and I can even work together. So there's the information that you need right on the screen. And I greatly appreciate your time, and take care. Thank you.